Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys from Canada. You know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful October the 2nd, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, somebody lied to me and told me that it was fall. So I said, well, let me go on out there and get my boat ready to put away. And so I come out here, and all of a sudden it gets to 81 degrees, and I got to push the thing away from the dock, go out there and cruise and drop a line in the water a little bit, you know, Charlton, just to see if I can harvest some dinner. You know, got lucky, got a few bites, pulled a couple in, Charlton. And I'm going to head back to the house when the show is over and have me a little fish fry.
Nothing wrong with a fish fry. All is fair in love and war. So much happening in the sports universe all over this beautiful country. In fact, all over this beautiful planet. There's so much happening. I even saw where Melania Trump, she actually flew over to Africa because, you know, we're very popular in the Washington, D.C. area, Big C, but POTUS won't let her follow Big C Sports in Africa, so she has to go over to Africa just to follow the Big C Sports show. Melania Trump, don't you know she can follow Big C Sports in the United States of America? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you know, there's certain things you can't listen to in the White House.
Yeah.
So she had to head over to some S-hole country.
Yeah.
To listen to the Big C show. You know, she wanted to see the authentication of the Big C show. She wanted to see the motherland that it came from. So Melania really wanted to get in touch with the other side, Charlton.
Exactly.
So she said what goes on in Africa stays in Africa. So now I can't see what's going on.
Yeah, that's funny. Remember in the movie in Star Wars, Darth Vader said, "Come over to the dark side." So she's trying to find the dark side of Big C.
She went way over to the other side, She didn't go to England. She didn't go to Ireland.
No.
She didn't go to her home country, Charlie. She went to Africa. She went to the motherland. and not just to get a tan, okay?
They said the only continent that Jesus Christ ever walked was the African continent. Google it. This segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac leaders, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C said there's so much going on in the sports universe, from football, baseball, college football is hitting off strong. We know NFL is great. But I got to tell you, sometimes, Big C, as you're sitting on the dock of the bay, I forgot that good old boy that sang it, but he was a really good musician. Otis Redding. And also, you know, I was doing some, you know how you fill in sometimes and people say you're a mentor? You're like, mentor, okay, I hope I don't live down the reputation. So I was meeting with some AAU basketball players. These boys are all like 14 to 18 years old, and they're trying to get some knowledge. So I went to impart some knowledge. And I was talking about football because football is big. I remember saying that the Raiders and the Steelers, the Immaculate Reception was mistakenly called the Immaculate Conception by me, Big C. And so I confused a lot of those kids because they don't read the Bible. And they said, well, hold on, I'm confused. Are you saying that Jesus Christ played for the Pittsburgh Steelers? I said, no, he didn't play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I had a mix of words. But if they get Le'Veon Bell back, he may be like Jesus, Big C, as he saved some of the season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's going to be an interesting move, you know, if Le'Veon does show back up with the Steelers.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's talking about, you know, between week 8 and week 7 of the season that he'll show up.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's amazing how the media preponderance, you know, in a matter of 3 short weeks after James Conner gained over 130 yards on the ground against the Cleveland Browns in that first game of the season, saying Le'Veon Bell wasn't needed. No one missed him. Even his teammates, Charlton, were saying that, according to the media. Okay? James Conner hasn't gained 130 yards in the last 3 games combined. You know, matter of fact, he had a season low of 19 in the last game, Charlton, that they just lost the other night against the arch rival, the Baltimore Ravens. So, you know, this move about Le'Veon Bell, people saying that he's selfish and that, you know, why is he holding out? Why is he saying when he's going to come back? You know, what I like about Le'Veon's move, Charlton, because being a former player, we had no say-so about what goes on.
Exactly.
You know, teams could cut you in a heartbeat, and they still can do that.
Yeah.
And the media acting like the players being selfish. When a team walks in and say, hey, you know, we don't think you can play anymore.
Yep.
And we got this young guy who makes less money than you. You know, we're going to get rid of you. We're going to release you on Monday or whatever. We're going to release you at the end of training camp.
Yeah.
You know, you're free to shop around and see if somebody else wants you.
Yep.
And now that players have some control, Charlton, of their lives, and the white media has a hard time understanding that.
Yep.
You know, how can these guys all of a sudden be free? You know, they work on the plantation. They work at our leisure.
Yep.
You know, they're here to entertain us, do what the owner tells them to do.
Yeah.
You know, when to get up, when to get down, how many sit-ups to do, how many push-ups to do.
Yeah.
All of these things. This has been the life of professional athletes.
Yeah.
And so what Le'Veon Bell is doing is setting a precedence, Charlton, for the rest of the professional athletes out there, just like baseball did years ago with Curt Flood, when he said, we demand free agency. And I hope that when they have the next collective bargaining agreement, that the players go in and demand guaranteed money and shorter contracts.
Yeah.
Because Le'Veon Bell is looking at the amount of use that he would have been used. James Conner, you know, had 19 rushes in the last game, or 16 rushes for 19 yards in the last game, Charles.
Yeah.
16 rushes for 19 yards. If that had been Le'Veon Bell, he'd have had the 16 rushes along with 12, you know, passes thrown in his vicinity.
Yeah, I agree very much.
So he would have been worked expeditiously, and that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
You know, he's looked at the number of top-flight players, Charlton, that have been injured thus far in this season, and saying those could have been me. And that's what I'm cautioning against.
That's very true, Big C. You know, also, isn't it fitting that he's a Pittsburgh Steelers? Because when you think about, and there's some Raider players back in the day, whether John Bella or any Art Shell, especially Al Davis, they swore that, you know how I mixed up that story with the AAU kids? I was trying to motivate them, Big C, but they thought that immaculate reception, I think it was Frenchy Fuqua, the ball was thrown to him, Bradshaw threw it, and I think it was hit by Jack Tatum. The ball bounced up into the air, and Franco Harris, the young kids think he's Jesus. He caught the ball. The Raiders swear he caught that ball off the ground. They swear that ball touched the ground, and there are Raiders that will go to their graves believing that ball touched the ground. And the NFL never showed a replay. Now you get a replay on everything, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, even in the replays that they have now, they're inaccurate. You were just there in the Bay Area for the Raiders game over the weekend.
Yeah.
You know, we saw the game last night in Kansas City. There's always going to be a plethora of missed calls. I'm a proponent of the old days, Charlton, when we didn't have instant replay.
Yeah.
Before it came along, the game was the game, Charlton.
Yep.
If you caught the ball, you caught the ball. If you dropped it, you dropped it.
Yeah.
Now, when you can break down anything into a millisecond and say, well, this is my conclusion on this millisecond, frame by frame, that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
That's not how the game is played. The game is played in real time.
Yeah.
Whether it's baseball, basketball, football, Charlton, let athletes be athletes. You know, it's like if we look at records that are broken today versus records that existed years ago.
Yeah.
A lot of records are broken now, Charlton, because of instant replay.
Yeah.
Because players are getting other opportunities or having opportunities taken away from them.
Yeah.
Those players that set records, Charlton, prior to 80, they can't go back and amend those things. You know, it's like having a player that's transcending through generations. When you look up and say, you know, this player could have played in any generation because of what he was physically.
Yeah.
Whether it's a quarterback, running back, a pitcher in baseball, Charlton, a basketball player. But when you look at the all-time NBA leading scorers now as they come along, they're playing, Charlton, with a three-point shot.
Yeah.
The guys prior to them, Charlton, didn't have a three-point shot. If you look at the top two guys that were on the list forever, Wilt and Kareem, there was no three-point shot in the game.
No.
You know, you look at Barry Sanders when he played. You look at the play clock when Barry was a player versus what it was with Emmett.
Yep.
You know, if you'd have taken Barry Sanders and put him behind that Dallas Cowboy offensive line,
oh, amazing.
Man, he would have gained 25,000 yards.
Yeah.
Emmitt Smith is the NFL's all-time leading rusher. He's not the NFL's all-time leading best back.
No.
There's two different distinctions in that, Charlton, when we look at. Just like when we look at football now. You know, everybody, you know, with Drew Brees breaking everybody's records.
Every day.
Drew Brees could have played in any era, Charlton, because of his diminutive stature. Look at what he's doing against players much bigger than him.
Yeah.
And you know, he played in an era that had all the advantages. But, you know, when you look at what he does, and he's going to break the all-time yardage record this weekend, but he's never talked about as the greatest. You know, you'll hear Marino, you'll hear Elway.
All those guys.
You know, Rodgers.
Yeah.
And Brady's not even mentioned in that category. But Drew Brees has outdone them all. He has just about as many championships as half those guys.
I think that's a very good statement to make. And also, you talk about players that transcend time. There are also teams that transcend time. Whether you talk about the Cleveland Browns, whether you talk about the Oakland Raiders, we talk about the Steelers and the Cowboys, that tuck rule, that was also a part of the Raiders. We talk about the Immaculate Reception with Franco Harris and Jack Tatum and them good old boys at Three River Stadium. And Art Rooney didn't even see the play. He was going downstairs, down the elevator to go congratulate Al Davis and the Raiders and them good old boys. They robbed them. I'm telling you, it was a highway robbery at Three River Stadium, and that's from some of the words of the great Raiders, Big C. But another seminal moment that changed the NFL, it happened 40 years ago. Remember, Big C? It was in California, down in San Diego. The Raiders and the Chargers. It was that fumble. That good old boy tight end, Dave Casper, he caught the ball from your friend, the late Ken Stabler, and he kicked the ball forward. It wasn't a fumble, but they called it a fumble, and the Raiders recovered it in the end zone, and that changed
Mark Van Egan was the running back.
Mark Van Egan. I knew you would know it because you were part of that heist, Big C. So do you think the Cleveland Browns, Baker Mayfield, when them good old boys had him in the grass, and they said he was down, in the Browns, the Browns would have had that game. It was actually a car that they said was in the grass. The Browns were running off for a touchdown, and that's when LeBron James said, "Cleveland, you got robbed." Big C, would that make a difference in how we look at the sack rule?
Well, Johnson, not just the sack rule, but the replay rule. They said plays like that are non-reviewable.
That's a joke.
I mean, if the officials make an egregious mistake, then they need to get a call from the league office.
Yep.
They can't review it in the stadium, but the league office can overturn it. Why do you call back to the league office?
Yeah.
Why do you have them in place? In two scenarios in that game, Johnson, it's quite clearly to see that, you know, that there was calls that went in the Raiders' advantage against Cleveland in that game.
Yeah.
You know, there are always going to be situations like this, Johnson, but the NFL can't come out a day later, 2 days later, said,
we were wrong.
We feel that there was a mistake made on that play. You know, it's like a statement that I made, Charlton, because you got so many ties in the NFL already this season.
Yeah.
You're going to see in the last 2 weeks of the season, Charlton, you're going to see a couple teams play for ties just to keep other teams out of the playoffs, Charlton. You're going to actually see that occur.
Yeah.
Because fantasy football has gotten too big now, and there's betting allowed in more places than Nevada.
Yep.
So, you know, when I watched this game, Charlton, with Oakland and Cleveland, and saw bits of it in Charlton and saw these egregious calls that were made.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm seeing these officials. Well, we can see it clearly in live time, watching a game on television.
Yeah.
Everybody in the stadium see it, and they're sitting 100 yards away from the play.
Yeah.
They can see it.
Yeah.
And you got an official walking over to the sideline, and he's taking 2 minutes to figure out how the hell am I going to get them to believe that they didn't see what they saw. I honestly think that's the conversation that they're having 80% of the time over the top. We have to convince them that what they saw wasn't accurate, because we know the whole world saw this. All the United States watching football saw this play.
Yeah.
But we got to word it so it's inaccurate.
You know, Big C, and I want to challenge all of you TV producers out there, not only in the United States, but everywhere in the universe. When you listen to what Big C says, the Mystic, Big C and I did a skit on Friday. Google it. We talked about the Raider game and the Brown game specifically, because the league doesn't want John Gruden getting off to an 0-4 start. He's a prodigal son of the NFL. He's Caucasian. He has a losing record without Tony Dungy's players, 74. Actually, 78 wins, 84 losses. You can Google that, too. But we talked about that Vin Rames skit when it was Vin Rames in Pulp Fiction with the great Sam Jackson and John Travolta. And who was that? Bruce Willis? And Bruce Willis. And Ben Rames said, Punchy, you go down in the 4th round. That stinging sensation that you're feeling messing with you, that's pride. And he said, pride. He said a little bit more terse words than that, Big C. Well, how did Big C know what was going down, Big C? You ever hear about that movie? I think it was The Inside Man by Clive Owens. Big C, your thoughts?
Great on was Jodie Foster and Denzel Washington. Yep. Clive Owens should have got an Oscar.
He should have.
For that movie of robbing the bank, Charlton. Yeah. It was a beautiful movie, very, very well scripted.
Yeah.
But you know what? The game, Charlton, is not as difficult as many people want to play it out to be on these analytical shows.
Yeah.
And all that. Athletes know what go on in a game. They know
yeah.
what time it is. They know what's there, what's not going to be. It's not a guessing game, Charlton, when you're out on the field.
No.
And when something clearly happens and everybody's witness, why are these linemen diving at the ball on Oakland? The offensive line, they're diving at the ball.
Yeah.
They know that the ball is live.
Yep.
The officials are sitting there saying, wait a minute, what's the spread on the game?
2.5.
And I wonder what they're looking at. Are they looking at the lines, or are they actually talking to somebody in New York? Seeing the spread on the game, well, it's a 2.5 point spread, it's 3, so, we're good.
Yeah, I tell you, man, I think about, again, you just brought up again, those Seminole teams, the Tuck Rule in New England, where the Raiders got robbed in Foxborough. In fact, they robbed them so good, they got enough money to build a new stadium for the Patriots. Did you realize when they robbed the Raiders in the Tuck Rule, the next season the Patriots had a new stadium, Big C? Is that a coincidence, Big C? What a bargain.
Well, yeah, what are the Raiders going to get now? They're going to get a new stadium. They get the new rule. Well, ironically, think about it. After the Holy Roller Rule in San Diego,
yep.
They ended up moving to Los Angeles a few years
It was holy, wasn't it? Yeah.
They get the Tuck Rule, and they come back to Oakland. They get stadium expansion. So, all of these rules that change the outcome of games, Charlton, and the history of franchises, there's been stadiums that have gotten out of the Steelers. Look what they got out of Three Rivers. They ended up getting a new Heinz Field.
Didn't we tell you that Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe? You don't hear it anywhere else. In fact, I got to make a little confession. My pastor, I'm really close to my pastor. He's always giving me advice. He's not a perfect man, but he is fire and brimstone. And he said, hey, Charles, I want to ask you a question. I said, yeah, Pastor. He said, you guys are always talking about Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. He said, well, how many athletes do you know? I said, well, I know quite a bit. He said, well, why you ain't invite them to come to the church? Don't you know we could use that tithe money? I want the big money guys coming in. Why is it that these pastors that are good, they wanted me to start bringing some of the athletes to the church so they can tithe to the church? I said, Pastor, how many Bentleys do you need, Big C? Big C. I just think it's funny, Big C. Have you ever gotten that request, Big C, down south?
Something I've had people request that I bring some of my friends and teammates along with them. My cohort.
Yeah.
They make good money. That's the kind of people we need here.
Yep. I think it's so funny. But anyway, all's fair in love and war. Again, Melania Trump across over in Africa doing some great things, trying to get the Big C Sports hooked up on the Air Force One Big C. But I want to ask you, as we get into some sports, what was it like hanging out with Slim Pickens and Cleavon Little back in the day? Drinking that shine and having barbecue. Because a lot of the things that you say, I'm sure as mainstream starts stealing your flow, Big C, they must think that is one uppity. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I always appreciated what Slim said, instead of being cocky and arrogant, I really love the uppity word. Call me uppity. That I don't know my place.
Yes.
And I think that's how it's looked at with us, Charlton, on radio.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of people say, well, they don't know their place, even though all the network guys copy what we do.
Oh, they stealing.
And we've told you this for the past couple of years that we've been on.
Yeah.
Just go back 2 days after what you've heard on their shows, and you'll find it on our airways, Charlton. Just pull it up. Just Google it.
Yeah.
These people, uppity is a great place to be, Charlton. Because it means that people can't figure you out.
Yeah.
They're trying to understand what you're doing. They can see it, but they don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
So it makes you uppity because you don't share it with them.
Yeah.
So it's no longer being arrogant and cocky. We're just uppity.
Well, I just say, if your dog won't whack, and I'm sorry about bringing up the dog story. I know you're still looking for your dog, but Will Smith is not giving them back. He's going to bring it I Am Legend Part 2, Big C, the rebirth of Big C's dog. But I remember being told things back in the day, and I really mean this with all my heart. But if you're an advertiser and you watch mainstream and you just compare it to Big C Sports, we all believe all's fair in love and war. Or if you look at what golf's new slogan is, all's fair in love in golf, where'd they hear that, Big C? But if you're paying somebody 7 figures to be on television and they're speaking to your audience, are they speaking the truth? Who's that good boy named Jack that said, I want the truth, you can't handle the truth, Big C? Which Jack was that?
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson.
I think his role as a joker, is what you could call a lot of these broadcasters out there, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because they're not being straight up and honest with the listener.
Yep.
And even when you have these egregious situations that we witnessed on these replays, Charlton.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you have to call it out. You just can't say, well, that maybe they missed that one.
Yeah.
It's like in politics. He's lying, okay?
Yep.
You can't sugarcoat a lie. It's a lie.
Yep. You got to be real with it. So I think most people, they want the doctor to tell them the truth. And that's why I know Frederick Douglass said we need to read. Marcus Garvey said read. At a time, it was anathema for black kids to read. In fact, you could be put to death in the land of the free and the home of the brave for reading. So we say Google it. That's what we contribute to the universe. Make sure everybody can read. Big C, you want to get into Big C's top 10 college football for week 6. Number 1 in your neck of the woods, Alabama. We talked about Jesus. Well, Saban baptizes a lot of good old boys in that lake out behind his house, Big C. I think there's something in that lake that make them good old boys win. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, some of us got to drive to a lake, Charlton. He just strolls down here to a lake.
Yeah.
Nick not only got a house, but he got a lake thrown in with it down in Alabama.
Yeah, what a bargain.
They're sitting up top at number 1, Charlton. He has the guys who want to play. The horses are pulling the plow and getting it done in the field.
Yeah, and then if you look at your top 10, you got, let's say, would it be Alabama? Would they be Alabama 1? Would you say Oklahoma, Georgia? What are you thinking? There's so many different people coming out with their own polls, Big C, but what are your thoughts?
Charlton, I like Oklahoma because I look at what Kyler Murray and that offense is doing. I mean, Charlton, they are putting up phenomenal numbers. The defense is playing well. They've had a wealth of injuries, Charlton, but that hasn't held them back. It's been next man up in Oklahoma. Charlton, they're playing solid football out there on the plains.
And then who would you follow number 3? Everybody has their own opinion, and we see so many pollsters from ESPN to Sporting News to even the local papers, USA Today, all of them have theirs. Who would you put in as your number 3 team, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I got to stay in the SEC. I got to look at Georgia. They haven't done anything wrong all year. They've been consistent. They have the 2-quarterback system. They have a great running game, Charlton, and their defense is getting better every week. I keep them in at number 3.
Well, when you think about 3, somebody's got to get that number 4th spot for the Bowl Championship Series, and everybody has their – what are they giving that brown paperback to those congressmen that control the NCAA? Big C, there's something in a brown – I said they got enough money to have a briefcase. Why are they sliding them brown paperbacks, Big C? Who's your number 4 pick?
Well, Charlton, I'm looking at Ohio State. In the past 2 weeks since Urban Meyer's return, they have declined offensively. Their point production has gone down each of the last 2 games, Charlton. They squeaked one out at Penn State and Happy Valley last week, Charlton. But I am going to leave them in my top 4 at number 4.
At number 4. So if you got them at number 4, everybody always petitions. You petition God for a lot of things. And sometimes prayer's not enough. You got to wear that cross on your neck. If your neck's not big enough to put a cross on it, put touchdown Jesus outside of a stadium. Where would Notre Dame be if they're left out the way they're playing? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Notre Dame has a pretty easy ride the rest of the way. They have one ranked team left to play, and that's going to be Virginia Tech, Charlton. And other than that, they got easy sailing. I got them at number 5, and if they stay undefeated, Charlton, I don't see how they stay out of the playoffs because one of these teams up above them will get knocked off.
When you think of being knocked off, when you look at a program that's at the top of the heap in the Big 12, but geographically, Big C, I'm confused. There's some good old boys in the West Virginia area. They think they should be in the top 4. Where would you place them, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I like West Virginia, and they got one of those quarterbacks that left the program down in Florida, Will Greer, who went up play for Dana Holgorsen at West Virginia. Charlton, I have them at number 6. They have that high-powered offense, Charlton. They were in a shootout this past weekend with Texas Tech, but they hung on, Charlton. They stay undefeated, top of the Big 12, and I keep them at number 6.
Well, speaking of number 6, I got to do this some justice. Big Z, we come out here, we play hard-nosed football, and all we want to do is get our guys to play hard. Where would you put LSU in the top 10, Big Z? Your thoughts?
LSU has been one of the surprise teams this year, Charlton. They're undefeated, got them at number 7 with Ed Orgeron down there. They have the transfer quarterback from Ohio State that has provided some offensive punch for them, Charlton. LSU, when you look at the SEC, Charlton, it will handle itself by the end of the year because a couple of these teams will knock each other off.
Well, speaking of knocking people off, sometimes back in the Stone Age, when you wanted to knock off your neighbor, you threw a rock. If you can't throw the rock, you at least touch the rock, Big C. What would you say about Clemson? Where do they fit in, Big C?
Well, Clemson, Charlton, I dropped them way down to number 8. You know, with Kelly Lawrence last week at quarterback who got knocked out. They just happened to squeak out a game against Syracuse, who was undefeated in that game, Charlton. Travis Etienne having over 200 yards on the ground. I'm still not sold on Trevor Lawrence, quarterback, the young freshman that they're playing, Charlton. He just hasn't gotten that gaming in under him yet, so Clemson falls all the way to number 8.
When you're thinking of falling number 8, you got to go down to the Sunshine State. I know you've been seeking up some good old boy. What's in those paper bags you've been taking down to the Florida Conference, Big C? You're trying to get some of the NFL teams ranked, but who's the leader of the Sunshine State that makes your top 10, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I'm going to go to Central Florida. Scott Frost is really kicking himself right now because he left there.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep. he probably is kicking himself.
Charlton, it has the longest winning streak in the country. They've won 17 consecutive games, Charlton. They have a quarterback that would be a Heisman candidate if he was in another conference. He's right there statistically with all the top guys in the country, Charlton.
Yeah.
But to have gone undefeated all of last season, Charlton, and if they go undefeated again this year, it's going to be hard-pressed for the bowl committee to keep these guys out of the playoffs.
2 years in a row. I know sometime when you're down there, the fishing game, they say you have a catch limit. You got a catch and release limit on them fish. That's why sometimes Big C's on the submarine when he's out there fishing. But I also know you good old boys down in Kentucky. There's something famous from Kentucky that a lot of good old boys, they only ship it at nighttime trying to run from Buford T. Justice. Who would that be in your top 10, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, in Kentucky, they changed their moonshine to bourbon. They just added a little color to it so it didn't look illegal. And that's all it is.
Yeah.
But normally in Kentucky, Charlton, this time of year, they start talking about the basketball team and John Calipari, your buddy. Right now, you got Kentucky undefeated with Stoops at head coach, Charlton.
Yeah.
They got a great running back down there, Charlton. And I bring them number 10.
Yeah.
They're undefeated in the SEC. And a great move for Kentucky to move into my top 10.
And they haven't been caught by Sheriff Buford T. Justice, Big C. You know, on the other side of the moon, when they say it's light on one side of the moon, it's always dark on the other side of the moon, Big C. They'll also get Big C Sports on the other side of the moon. They said when Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, he was following Big C Sports back in the day, Big C. Who's your worst top 5 college football programs in the United States of America? We know the players still play for free, but the coaches are still making 7 figures. Give me your top 5 worst, if that's a word. It's probably How about your oxymoron 5, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlie, when we look at places right now where nobody wants to be playing college football, number 1 is Nebraska.
Yeah.
This is a team, Charlton, that even the coach said look like they don't want to play. Look like they're a bunch of losers. When you think about that, you got a head coach calling his team a bunch of losers and don't look like they want to play. And he hasn't won a game, so he's not taking any blame for it. But then you come out west to where your boys hang out there, Charlton, at Upland. And that's what this season looks like, Upland, UCLA.
Fight.
These guys couldn't throw a stone in the ocean right now, Charlton. And they're sitting right next to it.
The Westwood,
You got to look in the Midwest of the country, Charlton, move back to the SEC, Arkansas at number 3.
Yeah.
This is a team that, so inept. They got fooled on a punt return. All right? The guys who are they said, well, nobody wants to tackle me. I'll return it for a touchdown. That's just how attentive the players on those teams are, Charlton. Then you look at North Carolina.
Yes.
You think about Mitch Trubisky throwing six touchdown passes over the weekend for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
North Carolina hasn't thrown that many touchdown passes all year, Charlton. Okay? He threw more in one game than his college team threw all year long.
Yeah.
Then I got to look at UTEP, Charlton. I mean, the University of Texas El Paso.
Yeah.
They're 0-5 on the season, Charlton. And right now they look to be headed for a winless season, Charlton.
Yeah.
When you think about my lower 5 in college football, Charlton, as a collective group, there are 2 wins and 20 losses in those 5 teams.
Wow.
No program going anywhere fast, Charlton.
Well, I tell you, they're not going anywhere fast, but I'm sure those coaches are going to keep cashing those paychecks, Big C. But I want to stay with the thought you talked about UTEP and down there in Texas and in the southern part of the country, Jimbo Fisher. Now, we always end our show with no sexual assault against men or women because it can happen to men too. And you said something I remember Latrell Sprewell back in the day for the Golden State Warriors. He choked P.J. Carlesimo. Now, mainstream made it seem like he was mad at P.J., but P.J. was really just choking on some beef jerky, and Latrell Sprewell was trying to save his life, Big C. But you know, when a black man chokes a white man, they said it's violence. He was giving him the Heimlich maneuver, Big C, but it cost him a chance to stay with Golden State. Why is Jimbo Fisher... There's not even anybody talking about it outside of Big C Sports and the parent of that kid who was jacked up. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's assault that happened in the game. I mean, there's no coach that has the right to go up and grab a player by the face. And then not only that, Charlton, he lied about it.
Yeah.
He said he didn't jerk on the player's face mask. He didn't jerk his neck. He didn't make a violent move with the player, Charlton. He was just trying to get his attention.
Yeah.
That's what you yell about, Charlton. That's how you get a player's attention. That he didn't want him to get into a fight and get him kicked out of the game. Well, you were standing between him and anybody else, so if you didn't have his attention at that point. But the egregiousness to lie about the situation, Charlton.
Yeah.
There's been many coaches that have lost their jobs. Woody Hayes.
Yeah.
Bobby Knight. Okay, coaches that have been dismissed. Frank Kush, Charlton, in the past.
Yeah.
For doing actions like this. But you got the media covering for this guy. You don't want to know why? Because his $75 million is guaranteed, Charlton.
Yep.
Guaranteed. If he gets fired, they're on the look for $75 million. So he's at the point where he can do whatever.
Yeah.
You know, we had Urban Meyer. Didn't take an action. Didn't tell the truth on the story. But he didn't put his hands on anybody.
Nope.
He got a 3-game suspension, okay?
Yeah.
Jimbo Fisher said, hey, we're not going to touch this guy. We're not even going to put it up to committee to discuss. The NCAA is not even going to look at it. And that's the most appalling part, Charlton.
Yeah.
Is that the NCAA is giving autonomy to coaches in college football to assault players on national television.
Yeah.
It's acceptable. So we saw this on a college game, Charlton. What happens in high school when a coach grabs a player and shakes him?
Yeah.
Cracks a vertebrae in his neck, Charlton, because he's much larger and stronger than one of these young high school players.
Yeah.
What happens? Will that appall anybody, Charlton? Or will it come back to, well, it's acceptable on the college rank because Jimbo Fisher, who makes $75 million, can do it on national television and doesn't get in trouble for it?
Well, I want to bring this up, too, because it's really true. We talk about how do we keep women safe. Number one, what does Urban Meyer think about Jimbo's treatment? Urban Meyer didn't do anything with his hands physically to anybody. Okay? He wasn't even on tape. But he was punished for something that was allegedly. You can always be accused of anything. Okay? What man hasn't. Okay, Urban's the first man in the history of the universe.
We're not talking about Kavanaugh here, okay?
Well, exactly.
Kavanaugh's not part of the conversation.
Not
tonight.
part of the conversation. We understand that.
Even though he was hanging out with Chris Dudley, former NBA player.
Right. And we know that. But I think Urban must feel a little bit egregious because we saw something on tape where good old boy's not even being punished. What Urban was accused of was not on tape, and he had to sit out some games at Ohio State. And what message does it send to the women students down at Texas A&M because you know it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen like the sun's going to shine. Some knucklehead boy is going to put his hands on a woman, and he's going to say, well, I was just trying to let her know how I felt. And all he's going to do is play that videotape of Jimbo doing it and say, well, isn't this legal? Isn't this what you guys consent to, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, he's going to say, well, I was trying to get her attention. I didn't want her to leave. I didn't want to get into a scuffle with her.
Yep.
So I grabbed her by the face, I grabbed her by the throat, grabbed her by the hair.
Yeah.
Something's going to be said. But, this is being allowed in Texas. This is what is acceptable. Now, I wonder what the outcry would have been if this had been a white player, Charlton.
Yeah.
Would they have had his parents on the news discussing this situation? Now, let's go back several years. Mike Leach at Texas Tech, okay, with Craig James, former running back at SMU with Eric Dickerson. He was a broadcaster on ESPN at the time.
Yeah.
Had an incident with Craig James' son, who was down there as a wide receiver on Texas Tech, okay? Did an egregious act with him. Mike Leach lost his job, okay?
Yep.
Lost his job. We're not talking with Hayes and Frank Kush decades ago. We're talking about the last decade, Charlton, when Mike Leach was the head coach down at Texas Tech. So some things are condoned, some things are not. When it was a white player, you lose your job, okay?
Yep.
It was a white player with Woody Hayes. It was one with Frank Kush. And it was one with Mike Leach. They all lost their jobs.
Yep.
The black player with Jimbo Fisher, he keeps his job and no, nothing will happen to him.
No.
Nothing, Charlton.
No.
He won't have any punishment from the university, from the conference, or even the NCAA, Charlton.
And And University of Texas A&M, the Chancellor, they're pretty quiet, Big C. When we think about college football, I want to get Big C Sports, your Heisman Trophy candidates. Now, everybody has their own choice. You have your own belief, your own research crews. It's just like if you're the mothership, you got people that copy other programs and you just kind of slide in what they say without giving them the footnote or the credit. Big C, who's your choice, your candidates right now for the Heisman Trophy candidates going on in college football? Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, I have to go to Ohio State. My top candidate is Dwayne Haskins. The young quarterback in his first year at Charlton has just been amazing thus far. He's had 1,464 yards passing, Charlton. 19 interceptions. He has done everything to keep Ohio State undefeated this year, even with that miraculous comeback against Penn State over the weekend.
19 touchdowns on the season for him. What a great player. What about your number 2 player? Because whenever you choose one person, there's always, every conference has their leading Heisman Trophy candidate. Who would be Big C's second place guy so far, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I'm looking at Kyler Murray, who right now is having a better year than what Baker Mayfield had in Oklahoma. You know, he came in and he's lit the world on fire, Charlton, over 1,460 yards passing. He's thrown 17 touchdown passes, Charlton, and I mean, he has some velocity on the football. And not only that, he's accounted for 4 touchdowns on the ground. So here's a guy who's accounted for 21 touchdowns for Oklahoma and has only played all but one game, Charlton.
That means in the NFL, they'll make him a defensive back, Big C. Who would you say is number 3? Because everybody has their own choices, and some people think the quarterback at Penn State or Bronson up at Washington. Everybody has a choice, Big C. Some people say Tua. Who would you say is your number 3 choice for your Heisman Trophy front run?
I like Will Greer there at West Virginia, where they're confused. I mean, they're in the Big 12, and they're sitting on the Northeast.
Geography's not important.
This conference of mine is a different horse for everybody. Charlton, he has 1,728 yards passing. An outstanding 20 touchdown passes, Charlton. He's lighting up the airways. Nobody can cover his receivers. But even the most miraculous part about him, Charlton, he's completing passes at an 83% clip. You think about that. Drew Brees in the NFL is completing at an 80%. This guy, Will Greer, is up above him at 83%. I mean, as a defensive back, you got to have nightmares before the game.
They do have nightmares before the game. Kind of like getting ready to cover somebody like Jerry Rice, give defensive backs nightmares. When you got a guy that can swing it like that, it's amazing. Well, okay, now, I know you like fishing in some of them lakes down south. But if you don't get some Southern player, I mean the real South, if you don't get some Southern player, you might have your fishing license revoked, Big C. Who would be your number 4 guy? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you got to look at Tua down in Alabama, Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, this young man, Charlton, has 1,161 yards passing this year, Charlton. He has 14 touchdown passes. He's accounted for 2 touchdowns with his legs, Charlton. But the most miraculous thing about Tua is he's never played past the third quarter in any game this year, Charlton. Alabama's undefeated, scoring at about a 47-point-a-game clip. But he has never played into the fourth quarter, even with those outstanding numbers. Those are 4 solid considerations, Charlton, in the Heisman Trophy balloting. You know, we've only a third of the way through the college football season, Charlton. Many things can change. But if these players stay at the pace that they are, Charlton, I'd like to see all 4 of them in New York at the end of the season.
That's a lot to look forward to, Big C. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry. And boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They work with Big C Sports. They've been around half a century. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league, when you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you. If you're a sports program, or if you're any kind of program, whether you're the finance news channel, even if you're someone like Entertainment Tonight, if you're not running sports, get out of the business, Big C. Speaking of getting into the business, I want to just ask you, the business is happening tonight. Yasiel Puig might want to call one of those alarm companies, because the Dodgers, almost every time this time of year, he invites friends over to the house, the kind of friends that always show up with nothing in their hands, but they always leave with some food, Big C. The Dodgers are rolling, and they look to try to do some things in the postseason. Just give me your thoughts. We have the Rockies versus the Cubs tonight, the National League wildcard game. And the Cubs' 4th straight appearance. I think the Rockies' 3rd game in as many days. Just give me your thoughts on the feeling, Big C, of Major League Baseball.
Well, Charlton, this one-game playoffs, and matter of fact, the Cubs have been in for the past 4 years, this one-game playoffs, to get to an opportunity to get into the World Series.
Yeah.
You're thinking about the Rockies, Charlton. They've had a whirlwind adventure. 3 days ago, they were at home against the Nationals.
Yeah.
Then they had to fly out to Los Angeles, Charlton, and play the Dodgers in that game out there. Then they had to fly to Chicago, and now they're zigzagging back and forth across the country.
Yeah, don't say zigzag in California, Big C. Governor Brown and the voters made something legal. They go fly straight. Planes fly straight, Big C. They don't zigzag.
Well, that's right. They have their own charter service. They're flying charter back and forth across the country.
Okay, just keeping it real.
So you gotta wonder, will that time change and all that air time, Charlton, affect the Rockies? They used to being mile high, but they've had to fly high across the country to get to Chicago.
Be careful. Snoop Dogg's listening to Big C's voice. You don't want to say hi, Big C. Just say they're flying below the radar, Big C. But when you think of flying, and you think of Yasiel Puig, I said, Big C plays for the Dodgers? He was doing an interview with his shirt off, Big C. I said, look at Big C batting for the Dodgers in the lineup. Tommy Lasorda, he can pull strings, Big C. But he made a guarantee. He was trying to sound like Broadway Joe. But if they get the chance to play them good boys from Atlanta, they still got to do some business with Colorado. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Atlanta's not going to be an easy layover for the Dodgers and stuff. Atlanta locked up their division a long time ago. They've had a chance to rest some key players, Charlton, and they were hot down the stretch.
Yeah.
The Dodgers had to fight tooth and nail, Charlton, to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of stress, getting into the playoffs, Charlton, doesn't always bode well for teams.
Yeah.
When you can get in there and you can rest some players, Charlton, you rest your pitching staff, that gets you long in the playoffs. The Dodgers, they got to get over that celebration.
Yep.
Yasiel might want to call another alarm company to come out and watch his house while he's on the road.
Yeah.
Because the friends he had last year got him for $1.5 million in jewelry.
Maybe he needs that alarm company that Shaq is working for. If somebody try to rob your house and get back, if they get by Shaq, good luck. He's not only an alarm company, he's a sheriff, Big C, so he might be the best alarm company out there. When we think about the NFL, Big C, I'm confused. I was listening to your friends. What's his name? McCaper and Shy. Is it Shay and Kuiper? What is McShay and Kuiper or Sniper? It's something, Big C, but they're not accurate. What is it about the sports universe? Even your friend Stephen A. Smith was riding the Mahomes bandwagon today. Big C, you were riding him when he came out of college at Texas Tech, almost threw for 6,000 yards. Now in week 4 of the NFL, all these good old boys acting like they saw the gold first. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's amazing when you look at what Mahomes has done in Kansas City. And last night, Charlton, he proved his mettle.
Yep.
Against a great pass-rushing team in Denver, a team being behind, having to fight through adversity.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody said. Well, he's played from ahead all these games. We don't know what he can do. Well, there's a reason why you get ahead in games, Charlton, and I still haven't figured it out yet. Normally, you're outscoring your opponent. That's the reason why you play from ahead.
Yeah.
But he proved last night, Charlton, is that he can play from behind also.
Yeah.
And one of the things, everybody talks about his arm strength, his understanding of the game. Let me take people to a place that nobody has looked at and nobody's ever talked about before, okay?
Yeah.
But in the next week or two, you'll hear everybody talking about it. Mahomes has an offensive coordinator, Charlton, that looks like him.
Yeah.
That understands him, just like all the rest of the quarterbacks in the NFL. Every quarterback, other than other minority quarterbacks in the NFL, Charlton, all have white offensive coordinators.
Yeah.
In Kansas City, you have the only African-American offensive coordinator in the entire NFL.
Yeah.
Nobody gives him any credit. Eric Bieniemy, who played at the University of Colorado.
Yep.
And Bill McCarthy, the coach when they won the national championship down there.
Yep.
He served his time in the NFL. There's always been a lot of talk. Well, to get a head coaching job, you got to be an offensive or defensive coordinator.
Yes.
Kansas City has an offensive coordinator that thinks like the quarterback, okay? They have that same type of moxie.
Yeah.
When they were both in college, they played in a similar type programs, Charlton, where they played with coaches who believed in them. Bieniemy left Los Angeles and went to Colorado in a time where there was a divide.
Yep.
And you think about Mahomes being down in Texas, where there's a separation even down there.
Yeah.
But that's what you got to look at Mahomes and Eric Bieniemy. the offensive coordinator. I understand Andy Reid, but he's always been there.
Yeah.
But Bieniemy is the offensive coordinator, first-time offensive coordinator with a first-time starting quarterback.
Yep.
And these two guys are hooked at the wing, Charlton, with each other.
Yeah.
They feel each other. They see each other, Charlton. They talk the same language. That's what's so important. You know, you remember a couple of weeks ago we talked about them incorporating a lot of the things that Mahomes did in college.
Yep.
And put it into the Kansas City offense.
Yeah.
The offensive coordinator does that, Eric Bieniemy. He understood what Mahomes did in college. He knew what worked for him there. You think about it. He's 4-0 this season.
Yep.
He's 1-0 last year. He started the last game of the season for the Kansas City Chiefs, Charlton, last season.
Yeah.
He's 5-0 as a starter in the NFL. Now, the Chiefs were 4-0 last year at this time.
Yeah.
They won their first 5 games of the season. But they didn't have Mahomes. That's the difference. They didn't have Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator because they went on to lose 5 of their last, games. They only won 5 of their second half games, Charlton, in the season. They ended up 5-6. So 5 of their last 11 games, they won.
Yep.
But the difference is Bieniemy.
Yeah.
And so everybody who's sitting out there who wants to go up and down on Mahomes saying what he has, what he doesn't have, give a little bit of credit to the offensive coordinator. He's the only African-American offensive coordinator in the entire NFL. So when they talk about diversity and the Rooney Rule and an opportunity to be a head coach in the NFL, this is where it starts, being a coordinator.
Yeah.
And the only offensive coordinator, only African-American offensive coordinator in the NFL is undefeated this year, Charlton, with the hottest quarterback in the league.
That's incredible. But I also want to say give the Mystics some love, too, because I know a lot of preachers, and they preach from the Bible. That means it's something that's written down. But also, and I'm serious about this, there's a lot of program directors out there, whether you work for the Mothership or them good old boys on the West Coast from Fox, you got to give people credit when they get an 8 on the test, even if they're black. Big C's been saying this for the last year. A lot of the copycat sports programs now, I'm talking to everybody in the universe that has Google on your phone. Google it. Big C been pumping this guy for over a year, even at Texas Tech. Now everybody else coming out acting like they found Noah's Ark first. Big C was already there. When you think about what you said about Mahomes, and people are excited about it, and they act like they're a little bit surprised and shock and awe and all that garbage, think about what he's done. In the last 4 years of his football life, Baker Mayfield transferred from Oklahoma. You have Webb that transferred to Cal. Alex Smith was traded to Washington. Mahomes is out playing all of them. He didn't get the great hype that the media gives us on that good old boy out of USC. Okay? They didn't get it to him on Darnold. The good old boy out of Wyoming, Allen, they didn't get it to him. That guy, Garoppolo, who can't play because he hurt his knee trying to run, like my good old boy, Mahomes, who also became Steve Young last night when he rolled to his left. He's a right-hand quarterback. He threw his southpaw for a completion. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, just miraculous athletic ability. That's what he showed. Von Miller left the game after that. He didn't look like, I'm going to sit down.
He had an easier time chasing chickens in that TV commercial.
He put the line from Green Mile with Michael Clark, the late Michael Clark.
Yep.
I'm dog-tired, boss. I'm dog-tired.
Yeah.
I mean, Mahomes dogged the defense last night, Charlton, but when you talk about that move that he made last night, Charlton, that's a generational thing.
Yep.
We've never seen that from a quarterback before. To outrun the speediness of the Denver Rush, Charlton, and have enough presence of mind to change hands just as he was about to be brought down and hit a wide-open Tyreek Hill, Charlton, to get a critical first down and keep the drive alive.
Yeah.
That's something that you don't teach, Charlton.
No.
That's an innate ability. People are going to start comparing his arm to other quarterbacks.
Yeah.
There's no other quarterback that does what he does. People say, well, Aaron Rodgers does something similar. No,
he doesn't.
Aaron Rodgers doesn't do what Mahomes does.
No.
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. But right now, Aaron Rodgers is sitting back in amazement of what Mahomes does, Charlton, because it doesn't make any difference whether he's rolling to the left, throwing to the right. There was one pass, Charlton, that, when he threw the pass, everybody's, ask Sam Darnold. He got kicked on the pass, okay?
Yeah.
And he was rolling to his right.
Yeah.
Mahomes was rolling to his left.
Yep.
Threw a dart back across his body, Charlton, 20 yards down the field for a first down.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold threw it for a pick six. Mahomes got a first down on the play, Charlton.
Yeah, and Darnold would have had more pace and some good old boys would have held on to the ball. But I think everything's great. I love the fact that people can compete for what they want, Big C. And when you let guys go out and earn it, that's important because that means everybody has an equal opportunity. And that's what Dr. King talked about. Every team in the NFL, if they have a quarterback they've invested at least a first-round draft pick in, or spending at least $16 million. That's what my pastor says, million. He don't want people tied on anything that makes noise, Big C. He wants $16 million, except for one team, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about it, and that one team is the Dallas Cowboys. You know, when you think about the money that all these other teams are playing quarterbacks, Charlton, and you said they've all invested a first-round draft pick in their starting quarterback, or they're paying their starting quarterback a minimum of $16 million.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott in Dallas is making, by NFL standards, a paltry $800,000.
Minimum wage.
$800,000. And he is the most scrutinized quarterback by the media in all of football, Charles.
By mainstream.
All of football.
Yeah.
You know, he's 2-2. He has no help. You know, does anybody know who three receivers are on the Dallas Cowboys? Anybody?
Harry Curly and Mo? Is it Harry Curly and Mo, BC?
Three offensive linemen, Charlton, because they're all beat up and hurt.
Yeah.
You know, Dak Prescott, he's getting no help. Think about, you know, we talked about taking players and putting them in different systems.
Yeah.
If Zach was in Kansas City, Charlton, he would have productivity.
Yep.
If he was in Los Angeles, he would have productivity. If he was in Jacksonville, they probably would be undefeated.
Yeah.
Okay?
He's that good.
When you look around and you see what somebody has to work with, you know, there's three quarterbacks, Charlton. You think about Houston with
Watson
down there. His offensive line leads the NFL in sacks given up.
Wow.
Think about it. It's no help. You know, people say, well, you know, Deshaun Watson's falling off. No, he's falling to the ground all the time.
Yeah.
Because his offensive line won't block for him. You get the same thing, Charlton, in Seattle with Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
When was the last time anybody in Seattle blocked anybody, Charlton?
Yeah.
You think about that. Most of Dak Prescott and Russell Wilson, they're 2-2 with their teams this year.
Yeah.
But no one's blasting the boys in San Francisco, Detroit. You know, these teams, Charlton, Buffalo.
Yeah.
You know, they have one win. Pittsburgh, one win. You know, Oakland, one win.
Yeah.
Those quarterbacks are getting a pass, Charlton.
Yeah.
But you got two 500 African-American quarterbacks that are being maligned by everybody around the NFL, Charlton, because their offensive lines won't block for them.
Yeah. And I like Derek Carr out here. I follow him from Bakersfield Christian all the way to Fresno State, the Bulldogs. But with Oakland right now, under the quarterback guru, John Gruden, who's 78 wins and 84 losses without Tony Dungy's players. Google it. Even Carr has 7 interceptions. Basically the worst quarterbacks in the NFL this past weekend. And I'm asking all mainstream, and I'm asking everyone who follows sports, not only in the United States of America, but all over the universe. Google it, because I want you to see if Big C Sports is a mystic, or are we just blowing smoke? What's it called? Cheech and Chong up in smoke? We're not blowing that kind of smoke, Big C. Give me your best, actually your worst quarterbacks in the NFL this past weekend. People might be surprised, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, Charlton, the real shocker was Ryan Tannehill down there in Miami. You know, he was 3-0, 10-11 under Adam Gase.
Yep.
But all of a sudden, Bill Belichick showed up and he said, "We haven't been eliminated from the playoffs."
Yeah.
You know, he was doing his Shaq impersonation.
Yep. I like that good of Bill.
Tannehill comes out of this game, Charlton, and he had to really look at the wire on it and say, "Is this an NFL quarterback?" He's 11 for 22, 100 yards.
100 yards? You talking about the first half?
100 yards, Charlton, and an interception.
Wow.
You know, that's the first quarter for Drew Brees.
Yep.
But, you know, here it is. You know, he's not being beat up like Dak Prescott is.
No.
You know, everybody said, well, Dak Prescott hasn't passed for 200 yards. Ryan Tannehill barely got 100. And everybody still loves him.
Yeah. That means Usain Bolt.
This boy, Charlton, with that rocket arm that your buddy Kuiper and McShay loved, should have been the number 1 pick overall in the draft.
Google it.
You know, up in Buffalo, he had his usual game, Charlton.
Yes.
You know, he was still trying to figure out the NFL, you got to be above a 60% passer. He can't even get to 50% in the game, Charlton.
Yeah.
16 for 33. 16 for 33, Charlton.
Yeah.
151 yards And he realized that the other team might play for him. He asked Nathan Peterman, what do I do if I see the other guys wide open? Going to him. He had 2 interceptions in the game, Charles.
Yeah.
Think about this. How hard is it to be shut out in the NFL? I mean, that's almost impossible.
Yeah.
That you have paid grown men playing football and they can't score a point.
Yeah.
You know, that's how abysmal this Buffalo offense is, Charlton. Then I got to look at your boy, the anointed one that everybody said was a Hall of Famer, Sam Darnold.
Yes.
I think he's 0-3 since that night in Detroit, Charlton, opening up the season.
See, there you always go. Why you always got to deal with the facts? Why you got to deal with the facts? Can't you just be emotional like Mache and Kiper that convinced them gooder boys to draft them, Big C, and trade some gooder, better talent? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he was a hair better than Josh Allen, okay? Let's put it that way. he was a hair better. He completed 50% of his passes in the game, Charlton.
Yep.
For a mere 167 yards. So you think about that. These are the guys that your buddies say can't miss. They're the best. All 3 of them are number 1 draft picks, Charlton.
Yeah.
You got 3 number 1 draft picks combined, Charlton, on a Sunday in the NFL. They could just barely pass 3 quarterbacks together, Charlton, for 400 yards. Ryan Tannehill. Fitzpatrick, Fitzpatrick did that twice, 3 times in the opening 3 games of the season.
Yeah.
It took these 3 guys 3 games to accomplish that this past weekend, Charles.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're going to have some change up, at least some conversation down in Tampa. It's tough to be a starter in this league, but I just want people to start Googling. You know how you feel when you take a math test and you got a classroom full of people, and the teacher has the nerve to have you stand up and read out the questions, and you got to answer in front of the whole student body, especially when you know you were guessing. In fact, not just in front of the student body, but in front of the whole universe when a lot of these pundits come on and tell you who's who. And just Google it. I'm not saying we're any better than anybody else, but you should get on an airplane that gets you there at least most of the time, Big C. Don't get on an airplane that doesn't make it to its destination. Big C, I want to get your bottom 5 NFL teams as we close out Big C Sports in the final few minutes. Give me your bottom 5 NFL teams. Everybody has an opinion, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, everybody has an opinion, and I think these players on these teams can look at their own roster and say, hey, we're bad. You know, you look at the Arizona Cardinals, Charlton, they can't figure out how to get a win. They've gone through 2 quarterbacks thus far this season, Charlton, and can't find a victory.
Yeah.
New York Giants, all the weapons in the world, Charlton, to carry the ball and to catch the football. They got one of the highest paid offensive lines in pro football. Think about this. Nate Solder is the highest paid left tackle in all of the NFL. They brought him over from New England.
Yeah.
But no one is saying that he can block anybody right now either. The Buffalo Bills, Charlton, we just talked about them. How difficult is it to get shut out in the NFL? And that's what they did. Look at the Detroit Lions, Charlton. When will they ever win a playoff game?
Yeah.
You know, that's a small request from the city of Detroit, Matthew.
Yeah.
Win a playoff game.
Yep.
Matter of fact, win the division. They like that too.
Yeah.
And the New York Jets, after game 1 with the anointed quarterback, Charlton, haven't found a way to score. They cannot put points on the scoreboard since running it up on Detroit and Matthew Stafford, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's our bottom 5.
Yeah, and we know a lot of people have their own opinion. Big C, in the final few minutes, I want to get Big C's top 10 power rankings. Again, everybody has an opinion. Some people like moonshine. I like red wine. Some people like steak that's raw. Some people like steak. They say, I want it bloody enough so when I pull the skin off, I can eat the steak. Big C, that might be your style. Who's Big C's top 10 power teams in the NFL?
Well, Charlton, you got to roll out to the left coast where you're hanging out. And when you look at the Rams, Charlton, number 1. They told Minnesota, bring it on. Bring us the best that you got. Throw all the points out there that you can.
You like that?
We will see you and raise you.
Yeah.
That's what we would do. Kirk Cousins, they haven't been heard from all year. Your cousin has got real
He's not my cousin, Bixby, but I'll take his bank account.
Kansas City.
Yeah.
The Magic Man, Mahomes. I mean, you know, I don't know why anybody's mesmerizing. And when you look at the top 2 teams in the NFL, Charlton, what do they both have? They have a quarterback that can light it up.
Yeah.
They have a running back that can carry the mail. They have a receiving corps, Charlton, that's just hard to play man-to-man defense against. And that's the commonality between the 1 and 2 teams in the NFL, Charlton.
Yeah.
I look at New Orleans. I like what Drew Brees is doing. Until you show me that he can't throw the ball anymore, Charlton.
He's amazing.
I got to keep New Orleans competitive. They just go out and outscore people, Charlton. Game in, game out. They've done it the past 2 weeks. They've been behind at halftime, Charlton, and come out and outscore their opponent. That's what you must do.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bengals, Charlton, to me, are not a surprise team. I've liked them since the preseason, Charlton. I've liked that Marvin Lewis, had all that pressure on him. But he has a team that's healthy right now, Charlton. And they're even going to get some players back off of suspension this week.
Yeah.
That are going to make them even stronger.
Yep.
The Baltimore Ravens, Charlton, a great defensive team. They go out and they play people. They hit people in the mouth. Ask the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
Had a swollen lip once that game was over.
Yeah.
The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to slide in there at number 6, Charlton.
Yeah.
Great defense, but I'm not sold with them offensively. Blake Bortles is like a yo-yo. He's up and down. You don't know what you're going to get out of him. One week he's passing for 350 yards.
Yeah.
The next week, Charlton, only 2 field goals in the game.
Yeah.
Number 7, Charlton, the Tennessee Titans. Mike Vrabel showed me a lot this past weekend with his team, trusting them, and they made the coach believe in them, Charlton.
Yes.
That they would go for it on 4th down. He goes out to win the game, Charlton, not playing for a tie. He's going out to win the game, and that puts a lot of confidence in your players.
Yeah.
New England, I dropped them all the way down, Charlton, to number 8. They're going to get some players back this week with Edelman and a few others, Charlton. New England, put them at 8 right now is not a bad position, Charlton, because they will always rise.
Yes.
They're in a division where they will take control, and they most likely will end up on the top of the AFC East.
Yep.
Chicago blew a lot of people away, Charlton. Trubisky, 6 touchdown passes in a game. They have an outstanding defense, Charlton.
Yeah.
It's a matter whether Trubisky can do this on a repeated basis, Charlton. Can he go out and play mistake-free football and keep Chicago rolling? They're top of the Central. I dropped Miami down, Charlton, to number 10. I'm going to believe that, Tannehill can play better than what he did, that he can probably get more than 100 yards passing the next time out. But if he doesn't, they'll fall out of my top 10, Charlton.
Well, I think it's all great in the sports universe. We just want kids to read like Frederick Douglass. No matter where you are, just understand that everybody has a chance to compete. In fact, there was actually a breaking news coming out of Southern California, and it would have to do with the best basketball player in the universe. And he was saying some things to the people back in Cleveland that really missed him when he started off the season in L.A. He said, Cleveland, listen to Big C Sports. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble, Big C. What are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, there was something that I was looking at. I read too often at times. The last time the New York Giants won the Super Bowl was in 2011.
Yep.
Everybody from that organization is gone. The only person that's left is Eli Manning. All the players and all the coaches are gone from that organization. Why is that, Charlton? Why are they all gone? And Eli was a subpar player when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But everybody's saying that he's getting better. He's got that deer in the headlight look. How much longer will Eli Manning hang around, Charlton? You got to realize in the last 36 games that the Giants have played, they have not scored 30 points once. You can't win in the NFL if you can't score 30 points.
That's a very good point, Big C. But you can score 30 points every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Show on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. I'm telling you, we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we tell you on every Big C Sports Show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.